Okay, I would like to call to order today's meeting, State of Nevada Board of Examiners. Could I ask the clerk to take the roll, please?
Governor Sisolak,
Here.
Secretary of State Sagaski,
I'm here.
Attorney General Ford.
Here.
Let the record reflect we do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 2, public comment. This is the first time set aside for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the board on any item on today's agenda? Items on the agenda, please step forward, identify yourself for the record. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anyone in Las Vegas for public comment? Okay, do I have anyone in Carson City for public comment?
We do not.
We're having a little trouble hearing you. I don't know if you can turn up your volume there, or if that's
We do
us
not.
doing. Oh, that's a lot better, thank you. Do we have any written public comment?
We do not.
Okay, moving on to item number 3, approval of the November 9th, 2021 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion for the minutes?
Move approval. This is Barbara.
We have motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, do we have any discussion on the motion made by Secretary Sagaski, seconded by General Ford? Hearing seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. And who's opposed? Signify by saying no. Nay. Motion passes. Item number 4, state vehicle purchases.
Good morning. Agenda item number 4 is a request from the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, Division of Environmental Protection, to purchase one replacement vehicle for an amount of up to $27,337. The vehicle being replaced has met the age and/or mileage requirements in SAM, and funding is included in the legislatively approved budget. Is there any questions on this item?
I do not have any questions. Do we have any questions or a motion?
No questions here. Move approval.
We have a motion for approval. Is there any do we have a second?
Yes, second.
We have a motion from General Ford, seconded by Secretary Sagaski. Any discussion? Hearing seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 5, request for approval to pay a tort claim pursuant to NRS 41.036.
This item represents a $100,000 claim for which the Attorney General recommends payment from the Tort Claims Fund. A settlement agreement has been entered in the amount of $100,000. Are there any questions on this item?
Do we have any questions from any board? Go
Yes,
ahead,
Governor,
Secretary.
this is Barbara Sagaski. Yes, I would just like a little more clarification on this, if I could, please.
Certainly.
Certainly. We do have Susan Stewart on the phone to answer any of the questions.
Okay, Ms. Stewart, can you give us a little explanation, please?
Yes, of course, Governor. This is Susan Stewart with the Attorney General's office, and this is a former employee who failed to yield at an intersection and unfortunately caused some fairly significant injuries to Mr. Antolik. And the tort cap here in this instance is warranted. Mr. Antolik has had to have surgery on his back. So that is the general facts of the case. I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
But the thing that I guess I'm most curious about is it's framed as collective bargaining.
No, that's the next item.
Oh, you're on 5. Okay, I apologize. Then keep going ahead, and I'll approve the tort claim. I'm
So is
sorry,
that a-
I thought you were on 6.
No,
I
we're on 5.
apologize.
Was that a motion, Secretary?
Sure.
Okay, we have a motion from Secretary Sagaski. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion from Secretary Sagaski, seconded by General Ford. Any discussion? Hearing seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Now, collective bargaining.
Item 6 is a settlement agreement under a collective bargaining agreement entered into by the state and the American Federation of State County Municipal Employees Local 4041 for the inclusion as an addendum to the collective bargaining agreement. Do we have any questions on that?
Yes,
we have any-
Barbara, I did want a little more explanation on that, and, if you don't mind, I would just like to understand it better.
Okay, so
Certainly.
I have been, actively voting no on all of these collective bargainings, and I want to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly, before I vote. Thank you.
okay.
Okay, could we get an explanation, please?
Yes, we have Frank Richardson and Mandy Bowes-Smith.
Go ahead, gentlemen. The little red light has to come on the microphone.
All right, very good. Good morning, Governor, Attorney General, Madam Secretary. Frank Richardson, for the record, Administrator of Division of Human Resource Management. With me today is Deputy Administrator Mandy Bowes-Smith, who oversees the Labor Relations Unit. We're happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I'm having trouble hearing you, and I've got an open mic somewhere, so.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, very good. I'm just going to pull my mask down a little bit. Frank Richardson, for the record, Division of Human Resource Management Administrator. With me today is Deputy Mandy Bowes-Smith, the Deputy Administrator of the Labor Relations Unit. We're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, I think the Secretary wanted a little bit more explanation. Can you just give us an overview, please?
Sure, I'm going to defer to Deputy Administrator Mandy Bowes-Smith, who has been negotiating with AFSCME on this particular item.
Okay.
Good morning. For the record, Mandy Bowes-Smith. I serve as the Deputy Administrator for DHRM assigned to the Labor Relations Unit. AFSCME Local 4041 filed a grievance under Article 21 of the Collective Bargaining Agreement regarding shift differential pay and the language that was agreed to in the Master Collective Bargaining Agreement during our initial negotiations for the Foundation Agreement. AFSCME asserted that members were being adversely affected by losing money because of the way that the bargaining agreement, because of the way the bargaining agreement agreed that we would handle shift differential, which is different from NAC 284-210, which holds that all hours in a shift that has at least 4 between the hours of 7 p.m. and 6 a.m. would be eligible for shift differential.
Okay, ma'am, I'm sorry, I apologize. Somebody has an open mic. It's a phone, maybe, one of the phone participants. But there's a lot of background noise coming in. So if we could mute it while you're not speaking, please. Go ahead, Mandy, thank you.
Thank you. NAC 284-210 states that there's a qualifying period, and when employees work during that qualifying period, which is 7 p.m. to 6 a.m., if they work 4 hours of that shift or more within that qualifying period, they will be paid shift differential pay for all of the hours of their shift. In the collective bargaining agreement between the state of Nevada and AFSCME, we agreed to a variation, and that variation is that only the hours worked between 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. would be eligible for the differential in pay for the shift differential. AFSCME came to us and said that their members were being adversely affected. We were able to reach a grievance resolution that you see before you, and we are asking that this be added as an addendum to the collective bargaining agreement. And when and if this were to take effect, it would revert shift differential consideration and eligibility back to that in NAC 284-210. Thank you.
Let me
Thank you,
just
Governor,
ask,
and
go ahead,
thank you
Secretary.
for that. I just wanted to thank you for the explanation, and I will be voting no. Thank you.
Okay, let me ask you a question. How did we negotiate something that is contrary to NRS?
For the record, Mandy Bowes-Smith, Deputy Administrator for the DHRM serving the Labor Relations Unit. NRS 288-505, Section 5, discusses conflicts in the law, specifically with NRS and NAC 284. And in the case that there is a conflict between the collective bargaining agreement and NAC or NRS 284, the contract governs.
Okay. Do we have any further questions on this one?
Mr. Governor, if I could, I just want to confirm that no retroactive pay is going to be due and that there will be no fiscal impact on the state. Is that correct? Are those two questions correct?
For the record, Vandy Bosmith, Deputy Administrator for the DHRM Labor Relations Unit. Yes, Mr. Attorney General, we believe there will be no fiscal impact on the state.
Thank you so much. I move approval.
We have a motion on the floor. I'll second the motion. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No, this is Barbara.
May the record reflect that was Secretary Sagaski. Moving on, item number 7, approval of proposed leases.
There are 2 leases under the agenda item 7 today. Are there any questions on these items?
No. No questions? Do you have any questions on the leases? Do I have a
None here.
motion?
Move approval.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second it, Governor.
We have a motion from General Ford, seconded by Secretary Sagaski. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 8, approval of proposed contracts.
There are 64 contracts in the agenda item 8 for approval by the board today. Are there any questions on these items?
No, and again, I want to thank you for the briefing where I had all of my questions answered, which was extremely helpful for me to get through. So I do not have any questions. Do we have any questions on this item?
No, and Governor, I want to thank your staff as well. They responded to our questions, and that's why we were able to make our decisions. So thank you very much.
Thank you. The staff did an incredible job. Do we have a motion on item number 8?
Move approval.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion from General Ford, seconded by Secretary Sagaski. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval of proposed master service agreements.
There are 5 master service agreements under agenda item 9 for approval by the board. Are there any questions on these ones?
No questions. Any questions? Do I have a motion?
None here. Move approval.
We have a motion for approval. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 10, information item, clerk of the board contracts.
There are 62 contracts over 10,000 and under the 100,000 threshold that were approved by the clerk of the board between October 19, 2021 and November 18, 2021. Are there any questions on these?
No, this is an information item. We won't be taking a vote, but does anybody have any questions on these? Nope, hearing and seeing none. Moving on, item number 11.
There are 2 informational reports under item 11. The first is regarding lands or interest in lands transferred, sold, exchanged, or leased under the Tahoe Basin Act program, as well as the quarterly report on the status of real property or interest in real property transfer under the Lake Tahoe Mitigation Program. This is required pursuant to NRS 321.5954 and Chapter 355, Statutes of Nevada. This report is for the quarter ending September 30th, 2021. There was not any activity under the Tahoe Basin Act, and there were no acquisitions of land in this quarter under the Lake Tahoe Mitigation Program. There were 2 transfers of interest in real property totaling 1,500 square feet. Are there any questions on this report?
No, do we have any questions from the board on this report?
None here.
No. Go ahead.
Moving on to the second report, this is a report on overtime, accrued comp time leave for the first quarter of fiscal year 2022. This has been summarized, so I'm not going to go into details, but I'll go over some highlights. Overtime pay and accrued comp time leave account for a total of approximately $19.68 million for the first quarter of 2022 22, or 7.65% of base pay. By comparison, total overtime was approximately $15.23 million in the same period in fiscal year 2021. This is a 29.2% increase from the first quarter of fiscal year 2021. The Department of Corrections had the highest amount of overtime and accrued comp time at $6.59 million, or 17.7% of base pay, followed by the Department of Health and Human Services at $4.8 million, or 6.6% of base pay. Next is the Department of Public Safety at $2.26 million, or 11.48% of base pay. For the first quarter, as a percentage of base salary, the Department of Veterans Services had the highest overtime at 18.85%, followed by the Department of Corrections at 17.7%, and the Office of Military at 12.24%. Are there any questions on this report?
I do not have any questions. Do we have any questions on this report?
No, sir.
Okay. That's an information item. Moving on, item number 12, public comment. This is the second time set aside for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the board on any item, please step forward, identify yourself for the record. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anybody in Las Vegas for public comment? Nope. Do we have anybody in Carson City for public comment?
No, we don't, sir.
Do we have any written public comment? Hearing seeing none, we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Merry
Thank you.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.